Has Aaron Rodgers' next star receiver arrived? I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Wednesday, September 28th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
Starting at quarterback for a bit in New England is Brian Hoyer, because it looks like Mac Jones is out a while. According to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, Jones suffered a pretty severe high ankle sprain when he was twisted up under the Ravens' Calais Campbell on Sunday. Per Adam Schefter, Jones is expected to miss multiple games with the injury, and there is still a chance that he has surgery. Now, here's what's interesting. Though Jones apparently wants the injury to heal naturally and avoid going under the knife, he was a direct observer to a revolutionary surgery to accelerate the return timeline from high ankle sprains. He was the third-string quarterback at Alabama when both Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa had the surgery at different times. It's called the tightrope procedure and was performed by Alabama surgeons Norman Waldrop and Lyle Kane. Every other person in Alabama is named Lyle, I'm going to guess. Now, I'm also not going to get into all the gory details, but there's a story by Ross Dellinger in Sports Illustrated from 2019 on the procedure that you should look up. I'll actually link to it, below in the show notes. And Jones is quoted in it. Quote, "We've had guys that came back pretty fast, insanely fast. It's unbelievable." So it's interesting that Jones may not want to have the surgery. We'll keep an eye on this, but for now, expect for a couple of Hoyer starts, which should be enough to keep this offense afloat, if whatever they're doing now is considered floating anyway. So I have to throw this out here. I'm literally having a bedroom set delivered, and it is coming directly as we're filming. So if you hear some noise, it's the beauty of live television, man. Life must go on. Anyway, in our first running back spot is a player who was dinged up on Sunday and plays on Thursday. Bengals running back Joe Mixon was listed as a full participant in practice on Thursday as he recovers from a minor ankle injury suffered in Week 3's win over the Jets. Now, Mixon is being a full participant on Tuesday is a good sign for his availability. Coach Zach Taylor did tell reporters that Mixon was a little sore, but could have returned to action against the Jets if the game wasn't out of hand. We'll take him at his word. And again, the full Tuesday practice certainly seems to endorse the fact that Mixon is going to be good to go on Thursday night. Now, what we would love to see is if Mixon can recapture some of the magic from his 2021 13-touchdown campaign. Per Scott Barrett's expected fantasy points, Mixon is the overall RB1 in PPR this year with 22.9 fantasy points per game. But he's actually scored just 13.2, ranking him 17th. The difference of 9.7 points, as you might imagine, is the biggest in the league. Barring Mixon actually being injured, good things should be coming, potentially starting Thursday night. The Bengals offense in general should see some positive regression. In our second running back spot, we have a potential sell high candidate. The Chiefs, there's my delivery truck. The Chiefs are still rotating their running backs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire saw 25 total snaps this past week against the Colts compared to Jerick McKinnon's 33 snaps, and neither saw a particularly fruitful workload, with CEH accumulating a grand total of 0 rushing yards while scoring a touchdown. That did get Jerome Bettis into the Hall of Fame. And McKinnon racked up just 20 rushing yards on 7 carries. Now, CEH did catch all 5 of his targets for 39 yards, though, giving him a nice 15-point total for the day in PPR leagues. But Edwards-Helaire continues to run hot on touchdown luck, which, ironically, was the complete opposite story for his first few seasons. Now, McKinnon has played 87 snaps to Edwards-Helaire's 77 this season. McKinnon has also outsnapped Edwards-Helaire inside the 10 by a 12-9 margin. Well, what does this mean? CEH has a low-end running back 2 role at best, but is scoring like a running back 1. Edwards-Helaire is the running back 4 in fantasy points per game, but is just the running back 23 in expected fantasy points per game. There's that stat again. Go to fantasypoints.com to check it out. It's really awesome. And per expected fantasy points, CEH is the 4th biggest regression candidate at the running back position, behind only Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, and Khalil Herbert. Now, if you want to hold with CEH and run with him while he's hot, I don't blame you. But there's a chance you can sell him for a high-end wide receiver right now, and that's something I have to entertain if it's available to me. And our first wide receiver spot is this week's hot waiver pickup, and for good reason. The Packers used an annoying rotation at wide receiver through the first 2 weeks of the season, but the situation cleared up a bit in week 3. Sammy Watkins landed on the injured reserve with a hamstring injury, and second-round pick Christian Watson also missed with his own hamstring injury. So head coach Matt LaFleur decided to elevate fourth-round pick Romeo Doubs into a near full-time role with Allen Lazard, and he paid the move off with a perfect performance against the Buccaneers. He caught all 8 of his targets for 73 yards, including a 5-yard touchdown, and he finished with an 89% snap share and a 94% route share. Aaron Rodgers desperately needs one of his young wide receivers to step up and be a playmaker for him, and Dobbs' training wheels were officially taken off in week 3. Dobbs will have at least 3 more weeks as the team's number 2 wide receiver while Watkins is out, and he may never give the spot up if he performs like he did in week 3. It also may not be long until he's considered Rodgers' top target ahead of Lazard. Heck, did that happen already? Per fantasy points data, Dobbs ran the most routes on the Packers on Sunday and was targeted on 30% of Aaron Rodgers' first read throws, ahead of both Allen Lazard and Robert Tonyan at 20%. Now, per our guy Brett Whitefield for fantasy points data, he explained this to me. There are usually only 2 or 3 players in a read, and an overwhelming majority of throws in the NFL are on the first read. So the Packers are drawing up plays for Lazard, and he's getting open. At this point, Dobbs is an upside wide receiver 3. It should be rostered in every league. At our other wide receiver spot is another rookie with an impressive role. We know Saints quarterback Jameis Winston loves to throw the deep ball. And man, did he find the perfect receiver for him. Rookie wideout Chris Olave was expected to be a go-ball complement to Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry this year. And holy crap, has he ever been. Olave currently sits with 531 air yards per fantasy points data, meaning the total yardage through the air on throws where he has been targeted. That is, through 3 games, 155 yards more than the next closest wide receiver, who is Courtland Sutton. Olave turned in 9 catches for 147 yards receiving on 13 targets in their loss to the Panthers in week 3, which gives him 14 catches for 227 yards receiving and 35.7 fantasy points in weeks 2 and 3. Now, indeed, Olave has benefited the last 2 weeks with the Saints playing from behind. He is 3rd among all wide receivers in second half receiving yards this year with 178. Still, let's not deny that Olave has already broken out. It is extremely rare for a rookie to dominate targets as fast as he has. Olave has seen 33% and 34% of the team's targets over the last 2 weeks. I would expect this to continue when the Saints are playing from behind. Now, both Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, Thomas with a toe and Landry with a foot, left week 3 early with injuries, but it looks like each player could return to action as soon as this week when they play the Vikings in London. Make sure you're up on Sunday morning in case one of those guys isn't active. Either way, Olave's usage the last 2 weeks has been absolutely incredible, and he should be locked into lineups as an upside wide receiver 3 for as long as Winston continues to throw weekly bombs to him. In our flex spot is not the person the graphic had listed because I'm an idiot. It's instead Titans running back Derrick Henry. So last night after our projection show at fantasypoints.com, I very tiredly sat down and laid out the show script to Ben and didn't realize I put Joe Mixon on it twice. I'm sorry, Ben. That's my fault. The graphic guy is not at fault here. But let's just talk about Derrick Henry instead. Now, look at him. Henry had 5 receptions against the Raiders in a must-win game for the Titans in week 3, the second most of his career. He had 6 once. The 58 receiving yards were the 3rd most of his career, behind only 2 games in which he caught exactly 1 pass, taking a long screen to the house. Now, combining that with the 20 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown rushing that he put in that game, Henry turned in the number 2 running back performance in week 3, pending Monday Night Football at the time, which Saquon Barkley passed him. Now, with the Titans playing from ahead, Henry also had a season-high 74% snap share. Now, there are a couple of things we have to note. First of all, the vibes on the Titans are still bad. More likely than not, this is a mediocre at best football team. And Henry still ran just 15 routes, so it's not like he was Marshall Faulk out there. But getting Henry involved in the passing game was a clear focus of the Titans coaching staff, and that's simply good coaching. When a team is struggling, its best players should get the ball more, not less. And look, nobody's telling you to throw the ball to Derrick Henry 10 times a game, but it's not like the guy doesn't have hands. He can catch every now and again. Now, it's impossible to say if this is a new normal, and we've been fooled a bunch by this in the past. More than likely, it's not the new normal for Henry, and he's going to continue to be a game script dependent, frustrating running back. But just on the low probability that Henry can be expected to catch 3 to 5 passes a game instead of 0 to 1, that's enough for a slight upgrade in my mind. I'm Joe Dolan, and thanks for joining me for the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. I know this one was a little disjointed, but I don't care. It's live television. That's what we got to do. Remember to like this video, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe to the Fantasy Points channel for the Daily Lineup and all of our other videos. And if you want insight into expected fantasy points, some of the stats that I talked about in this show, you want to subscribe to fantasypoints.com because we reference them in all of our articles, and we have a lot coming in the future that I am excited to bring to you. If you just want roster management help, all you need is our standard package. But if you like playing DFS, you like making bets, you're going to want our premium package. Whatever the case, use code LINEUP22 for 10% off at fantasypoints.com because both packages give you access to the subscriber Discord. That's where I answer questions. That's where Tom Brawley answers questions. That's where Scott Barrett and Graham Barfield answer questions in the DFS channel. You really want to be part of that. So make sure you go to fantasypoints.com. Use code LINEUP22. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Have a good day.